Top of the evening and welcome to the news here on IETV. And to our viewers on IETVTT.com, I'm Kevin Maharaj. Thank you for joining us. In the headlines, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is set to attend the Shields of the Americas Summit following a U.S. invitation. Bilateral talks were held with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and a 28-year-old laborer from Diego Martin was shot and killed on Wednesday night after gunmen ambushed his vehicle. In our top story, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is expected to attend the Shield of the Americas Summit on March 7th after receiving an invitation from U.S. President Donald Trump, marking a new phase of engagement between Trinidad and Tobago and the United States.
Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has been invited by U.S. President Donald Trump to attend the Shield of the Americas Summit in Doral, Florida on March 7th, signaling deepening engagement between Trinidad and Tobago and the United States. The invitation emerged following her bilateral talks with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the sidelines of the 50th regular meeting of the Caribbean Community in St. Kitts and Nevis. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar said she received the invitation during those discussions and expressed optimism about what the upcoming engagement could mean for Trinidad and Tobago in areas such as security, trade, prosperity, and safety. The summit in Florida is expected to focus on regional security cooperation, particularly addressing transnational threats such as drug trafficking and organized crime, issues underscored during the CARICOM discussions. Guyana President Irfan Ali also confirmed his attendance alongside the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar has said she intends to expand on topics raised in closed-door CARICOM dialogues when she meets with President Trump next month, aiming to further strengthen partnership efforts that benefit both countries and their citizens.
Security cooperation, energy development, and regional stability were central to discussions as Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar held bilateral talks with United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the margins of the CARICOM Heads of Government Summit in St. Kitts and Nevis. Here's Micah Dumé with more.
Following the meeting, both leaders took to their respective X accounts, describing the talks as productive and forward-looking. Secretary Rubio said the engagement focused on strengthening ties between Washington and Port of Spain, aimed at making citizens of both countries more prosperous and safe. He pointed to Trinidad and Tobago's continued support for U.S. military operations in the South Caribbean Sea as a key element of cooperation in the fight against drug trafficking. Under President Donald Trump, the United States has strengthened its relationship with our Caribbean partners by working together to end illicit drug trafficking and promote economic growth for both our regions, Rubio stated. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar described the discussions as productive and firmly centered on advancing Trinidad and Tobago's national interests while deepening strategic collaboration with the United States. My government continues to advocate firmly for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and remains committed to strengthening strategic alliances that deliver meaningful benefits to our nation, she wrote. She reaffirmed that the United States remains a valued partner and expressed appreciation for continued support and assistance in the spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. Summarizing the engagement, the Prime Minister highlighted 4 key priorities: security, energy, trade, partnership. The meeting comes amid heightened regional focus on transnational crime, drug trafficking, and economic resilience, issues that have featured prominently during this year's CARICOM deliberations. Adding to the international response, United States Congressman Carlos A. Jimenez publicly praised Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar for her leadership, describing her CARICOM address as a masterclass and commending her commitment to freedom and democracy. Rubio's presence at the CARICOM summit signaled Washington's continued engagement with Caribbean leaders, particularly on matters of security, cooperation, and economic growth, as the United States seeks to deepen partnerships across the region.
A 28-year-old laborer from Diego Martin was shot and killed on Wednesday night after gunmen ambushed his vehicle along Lacuna Road in Lower Santa Cruz. The victim has been identified as Hakeem Baker, also known as Peng of Northwest Drive, Patna Village. According to police reports, officers were on mobile patrol in San Juan around 8:45 p.m. when they received reports of gunfire at Sun Valley Extension. Upon arrival, officers discovered a silver Nissan B14 off the roadway in a ditch facing northwest. Baker was found seated in the driver's seat, slumped towards the front passenger side, suffering from multiple apparent gunshot wounds. A district medical officer visited the scene and pronounced Baker dead. His body was later removed by personnel from Ideal's funeral home. Police recovered 23 spent 9mm shell casings at the scene bearing various markings indicating that multiple rounds were discharged during the attack. Investigations revealed that around 8:30, Baker was leaving the Sun Valley Extension area when an unknown number of armed men opened fire on his vehicle that is. Police believe Baker attempted to escape but lost control of the car and crashed into a ditch. The gunman reportedly pursued the vehicle and continued firing after it came to a stop. Investigations into the murder are continuing. We pause for a moment. More news when we come back.
From the freshness of the ocean, Rainbow has sealed in all the natural, healthy goodness in their canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel. So go ahead, enjoy some crispy sardines, stewed mackerel, or a creamy tuna salad. Because while your tummy enjoys the great taste, your heart and immunity will love the healthy omega-3s, calcium, protein, and more. Rainbow's canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel are 100% real fish. So it's tasty, healthy eating for your body, heart, and mind. Rainbow canned fish.
Tile Expressions Limited, as one of the largest importers of tiles, offers an extensive range of high-quality tiles in ceramic, porcelain, granite, stone, and mosaic options. Additionally, we offer a variety of tile accessories and bathroom sets to complement any decor style. We are committed to providing exceptional customer service and swift delivery of all products. From indoor and outdoor tiles to bathroom sets and tile accessories, we have curated a range that caters to both traditional and modern taste. Lampus 13, Ajudha Road, Munro Road, Canopio. Call 223-8453.
And welcome back. Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Professor Prakash Prasad, has publicly thrown his full support behind Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar endorsing her leadership at the 50th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in St. Kitts and Nevis. Here's more.
During the meeting, the Prime Minister reportedly expressed concern that regional leaders failed to speak out in defense of Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, describing CARICOM as dysfunctional and unreliable on matters of collective security and foreign policy. The Prime Minister also made it clear that Trinidad and Tobago would pursue an independent foreign and secretary policy rather than strictly adhere to CARICOM's common positions. Minister Prasad further endorsed the Prime Minister's acknowledgement of cooperation with the United States, including President Donald Trump and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, noting claims that U.S.-supported military operations in the Caribbean contributed to a reported 42% reduction in murders locally. On the issue of migration, the minister backed the Prime Minister's position that illegal migration is placing increasing strain on public services and government finances, and that Trinidad and Tobago is not currently in a position to fully implement CARICOM's free movement provisions. Despite her criticism, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar reaffirmed the country's commitment to CARICOM while cautioning regional leaders against interference in national elections, warning that such actions undermine the sovereignty of member states. Minister Prasad congratulating the Prime Minister on what she described as her astute leadership and unwavering commitment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. IETV's Kevin Maharaj spoke with Minister Prakash Prasad via phone. Here's what he had to say.
Yes, with regard to the threats facing in Trinidad, right? I mean, and as the Honorable Prime Minister said, when the Trinidadian citizen was kidnapped, nobody made a fuss. Right? Also, when the Prime Minister was threatened personally also from Venezuela, nobody did anything or raised any voice. So, I mean, in my mind, that will constitute a failure because it's a collective responsibility of CARICOM to protect all its members. Well, as I said previously, I mean, that, we have to stand together and defeat us regard. I mean, like when Guyana was threatened, Trinidad and Tobago stood up and said, you can't threaten Guyana. So I think the Prime Minister was right in pointing out that, it can't be selective, the actions of CARICOM. If we need to work as a bloc, we need to act as a bloc, defend everybody who, as the Three Musketeers said, all for one, one for all.
A 55-year-old foreman of Signal Hill was shot and wounded during an incident in Patience Hill on Wednesday morning. According to police reports, the incident occurred around 9:30 a.m. on February 25th. The victim had stopped near a playing field to urinate when he was approached by a man who arrived in a brown vehicle. The suspect, described as a dark-skinned man of African descent, of average height and medium build, reportedly brandished a firearm and threatened the victim before opening fire. The foreman sustained a gunshot wound to his left forearm. He managed to drive himself to the Scarborough General Hospital, where he received medical treatment. The suspect fled the scene along Patient Hill shortly after the shooting. Officers of the Scarborough Criminal Investigations Department interviewed the victim, and investigations are continuing. Motorists will benefit from the new grace period starting on Monday before facing fines for motor vehicle defects. Transport and Aviation Minister Eli Zachariou has confirmed. The fixed penalty warning system was introduced through the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Amendment Bill, which was passed in the House of Representatives on January 16th and in the Senate on January 20th. The legislation received assent on January 29th and will officially come into effect this Monday.
On January 16, 2026, the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Amendment Bill for the introduction and implementation of fixed penalty warnings for specific traffic violations in the 9th schedule was passed in the other place, and on January 20, 2026 was passed in this Honourable House. It was assented on January 29, 2026, and I'm happy to report that the Act is going to be proclaimed on Monday, March 2nd, 2026.
Minister Zachariou added that the warning will detail the violation, the framework and the compliance, and the location where the drivers or owners must report to provide proof of correction. Drivers will either have a 3-day or a 7-day window, depending on the type of violation, to repair the defect.
Where constable defined in the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act to include a police officer, a transport officer, a traffic warden, and an estate constable employed under the Supplemental Police Act in a public body listed in the 8th schedule has reason to believe that any traffic violation specified in the proposed 11th schedule is being or has been committed, the constable shall issue a fixed penalty warning. In circumstances where the driver is present, the warning may be handed directly to the driver. Where the driver is not present, the warning may be affixed to a visible part of the vehicle, ensuring that the motorist is properly notified of the infraction. Once a fixed penalty warning is issued or affixed, the responsibility for the violation rests with the driver or, where necessary, the registered owner of the vehicle. The warning clearly identifies the nature of the violation, the steps required to remediate, the time frame within compliance must occur, and the location at which the driver owner must report and provide evidence that the defect has been complied with.
The Housing Development Corporation has again compelled to take enforcement action against an errant homeowner who unlawfully occupied common areas within a housing compound, constituting yet another breach of the lease of agreement. The matter has also been formally referred to the Forestry Division for further action. This intervention, the minister emphasized, is not personal but principled. The message is clear. Common spaces are intended for shared benefits of all residents, not for individual misuse or intimidation. Residents who observe similar abuse within their communities are encouraged to report the matter to the AGC and may also contact the minister directly via the hotline 702-PHIL. You're watching IETV News. We'll return after these messages.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality bromate-free, all-purpose and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 4808-715 or visit us at Warrenville, Canoopia. Shiklisho Limited, quality you can trust.
Are you renewing your motor, homeowner or business insurances shortly? Then call Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, for a competitive quote. With 2 locations, Todd Street, El Socorro and 5 Rivers, Aruca. Please call us at 221-5051 or 227-5051. Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, building relationships exceeding expectations.
Welcome back. The Chaguanas police station was placed on lockdown after 2 bricks of marijuana was seized during a police operation in Couva was stolen from the station and replaced with pieces of wood. The drugs were reportedly linked to an operation in which a Venezuelan national was shot and killed during a police exercise conducted by officers of the Port of Spain CID and CRO Special Operations Unit in collaboration with the Central Division on Tuesday in Couva. Following the operation, the confiscated narcotics were lodged at the Chaguanas police station for safekeeping, that is. Investigators believe the marijuana was stolen sometime on Wednesday night, with the discovery made on Thursday, February 26th. The circumstances under which the evidence was removed remains unclear. The Professional Standards Bureau has since been called in to investigate the incident. A similar matter was reported last year at the Barataria police station, a case which remains before the courts. Let's now take a look at some international news.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a historic visit to Israel. On the first day of his visit, the Prime Minister became the first Indian Prime Minister to address Israel's Knesset. In his speech, he said India stands with Israel.
India stands with Israel firmly, with full conviction in this moment and beyond.
Speaking before the Indian Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu showered praises for the Prime Minister of India. He said no other visit by the world leaders to Israel has moved him more than the Prime Minister's. Israeli Prime Minister called Indian Prime Minister Modi a brother.
Us, a great friend of Israel, a great champion of the Indian-Israeli alliance, and a great leader on the world stage. Welcome to Jerusalem, my dear friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and your distinguished delegation.
On his arrival at the Ben Gurion Airport, the Prime Minister received a grand ceremonial reception. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rolled out the red carpet for his Indian counterpart. Netanyahu, accompanied by his wife Sarah, personally greeted the Indian Prime Minister with the words, "Welcome, my friend." Members of the Indian diaspora welcomed the Prime Minister with great enthusiasm. They also performed traditional dances for the Prime Minister. On the second day of his visit, the Prime Minister is likely to visit Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center. He will also meet Israeli President Isaac Herzog on Thursday. The Prime Minister of India has returned to Israel after 9 years after his last visit to Israel as Prime Minister in 2017, before Netanyahu made a reciprocal visit to India in 2018. India and Israel established full diplomatic relations in 1992, and ties have since grown into a robust partnership, particularly in defense, agriculture and high-tech sectors. Bilateral trade has expanded significantly in recent years, reaching billions of dollars annually.
Iran and US are locked in a tense situation. Trump has deployed the most dangerous weapons in his arsenal. Twin aircraft carriers are now nearing Iran. Both Gerald R. Ford and Abraham Lincoln lead strike groups with several guided missile destroyer warships. They are operated by more than 5,600 crew and carry dozens of aircraft. Pentagon has rushed over 50 fighter jets, including F-22s, F-35s and F-16s. One signal from Trump and American forces would launch a devastating attack on the Islamic Republic. On the other hand, Tehran is mobilizing its forces, decentralizing command authority, hardening its nuclear facilities and intensifying its crackdown on domestic dissent. Iran has already activated its missile bases and put its military on high alert. Iran's IRGC is now reportedly working closely with Lebanon-based Hezbollah fighters. Hezbollah, despite being battered by repeated Israeli strikes, are still believed to have a huge arsenal of rockets and missiles. This shift transforms southern Lebanon into a fortified launchpad capable of saturating Israeli defenses in minutes. This would also allow Iran some relief from Israeli strikes, as it would have to counter Hezbollah's threat. At the same time, Iran has reportedly signed a $589 million deal with Russia to purchase advanced portable air defense systems. The agreement includes 500 Burba launch units and 2,500 9M336 missile over 3 years. These shoulder-fired systems are designed to take down aircraft and drones at low altitude. This would be a potential threat to Israeli and American air operations. As President Donald Trump weighs military strike options within a stated deadline, Washington has warned Tehran against further escalation. Tehran, in turn, appears to be strengthening its layered deterrence. The strategy is clear: deny the sky and saturate the ground. By combining Russian anti-air technology with the vast rocket batteries of Lebanon, Iran is building an impenetrable ring of fire.
The United States of America has slapped a preliminary duty of 126% on solar panels and related products imported from India. This move follows a US government review that found Indian manufacturers had received government support that has given them a competitive advantage. Now, this duty is part of a wider trade probe by the US Department of Commerce into foreign subsidies for solar products. The US has also announced preliminary duties on solar imports from places such as Indonesia, Laos, etc. And these range from 86% to 143% for the Indonesian products and about 81% for Laos. The administration has said that the levies are meant to offset unfair advantages that have allowed foreign exporters to sell below the genuinely competitive prices in the US market. The duties have come amidst wider US efforts to support domestic solar manufacturing, and they arrive after a challenge to the previous global tariffs, which the US Supreme Court had recently overturned. After the court decision, new lower global tariffs were introduced. But the government has also signaled that it may raise these rates further. Now, India, Indonesia and Laos together have made up nearly half of the US solar module imports in the first half of 2025. Many US developers had in fact turned to these countries for supplies after duties were placed on other Asian suppliers. Now, Indian solar exports to the US grew rapidly over the past 2 years, reaching nearly $800 million in 2024. But now experts say that the hefty preliminary duties are expected to reduce the appeal of the US market for Indian producers. The investigation is currently ongoing. A final determination and any long-term duty rates are scheduled to be decided by early July. The parallel investigations into potential dumping practices are also underway.
When we return, your weather update and more. IETV's Valentine's Day giveaway. For a chance to win some amazing prizes, go to our Facebook page and tell us what's the most meaningful gesture of love you've ever given or received. Winners will be chosen from the most likes and shares. Participants must like and follow our IETV's Facebook page. Prizes are 2 vouchers for a couple for dinner from Rassam Restaurant, Heartland Plaza, valued at $400 each. A silver pendant and chain set from Kanai Rockborough Jewelers. An exquisite fashionable chain set from Vandana's Fashions, ground floor, Trin City Mall. And $250 towards motor vehicle insurance from Kalyani Limited Agency for Tatil.
During these challenging times, Dollar Value Supermarket is here for you, providing our customers with a clean, safe shopping environment. Fresh produce from our farms, affordable prices and friendly customer service. It's these values that make us not just a supermarket, but part of the community, committed to serving you and your family. Dollar Value Supermarket, your pocket-friendly supermarket. Free home deliveries from our Gasparilla and Faizabad branches.
Welcome back to IETV's Major News. Let's take a look at today's weather forecast.
In today's weather update, Thursday, February 26th was partly cloudy to sunny across Trinidad and Tobago with warm and humid conditions. Prevailing for much of the day, periods of increased cloudiness developed during the afternoon, leading to isolated to scattered showers, mainly across central, eastern and southern districts, while other areas remained generally fair. Daytime temperatures reached around 32 to 33 in Trinidad and near 31 in Tobago. Tonight is expected to be partly cloudy, becoming occasionally cloudy at times, with the chance of a few brief showers, especially over eastern and southern areas. There may be hazy conditions at times, with overnight temperatures falling to around 24 to 25. Winds will be light to moderate, allowing for generally settled conditions. Tomorrow is expected to be partly cloudy and warm, with humid conditions continuing. There's a low to moderate chance of showers, mainly during the afternoon and early evening, favoring central and southern Trinidad, while northern areas and Tobago should remain generally fair. Maximum temperatures are forecast to reach around 32 in Trinidad and near 31 in Tobago. Looking at marine and sea conditions, seas are expected to be moderate, with wave heights up to 1.5 meters in open waters and around 1 meter in sheltered areas. Winds will be east to east-northeasterly at 15 to 20 knots. Small craft operators are advised to exercise caution, particularly in open waters.
Recapping the headlines, Prime Minister Kamla Persaud-Bissessar is set to attend the Shields of the Americas summit following a U.S. invitation. Bilateral talks were held with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and a 28-year-old laborer from Diego Martin was shot and killed on Wednesday night after gunmen ambushed his vehicle. Well, this is where we'll leave you for now. On behalf of our entire news team, I'm Kevin Maharaj. Thank you for joining us.